Hello everyone, and welcome back to Turkish Series Stars. If you're new here, make yourself comfortable, hit subscribe, and stay with us, because today we're diving into a twist that has stunned the entire fandom. The headline already gave you a taste, but nothing prepares you for the way it unfolds. Francesca's words about Kay landed like a thunderclap. We're unpacking the shock, reading the reactions, and exploring what it all means for the future. And because this channel lives and breathes the real chemistry of our favorite public pair, we're talking about how it all echoes through the world of Barış Baktas and Yağmur Yüksel, who stand right in the eye of this storm. The parallels are uncanny, the emotions are raw, and the consequences feel painfully real. Buckle up, things are about to get intense. From the start, the situation between Demet has felt like riding a runaway train. Even if you're watching from the outside, you can see the heartbeat under every scene, fierce devotion, sudden silences, wild hope, and the kind of doubt that keeps you awake at 3 a.m. For those of you who follow Barış Baktas and Yağmur Yüksel, you'll recognize the flavor of this tension, the way two strong-minded people orbit each other, building something magnetic, then pulling back, protecting what they're afraid to lose. And just when it looked like a fragile piece might hold, just when the smiles seemed a little less forced and the conversations a little less guarded, Francesca stepped in with a comment that rattled everything. Not empty gossip. Not a vague insinuation. Something sharper, personal, and calibrated to strike at the tenderest place. What do we call Demet's reaction? Panic, meltdown, or honest heartbreak ripped open in public? Words like madness get thrown around, but what we're seeing is closer to a soul trying not to break while standing in front of everyone. Remember, Francesca has always floated through the story like smoke, hard to hold, impossible to ignore, a master of timing and implication. And this time she aimed straight at the fault line between Demet and Kay. We don't have the exact sentence carved in stone, but we don't need it, the fallout tells you enough. Whatever Francesca said hit so close to Demet's sense of self that it stripped away her defenses in seconds. If you've watched Yağmur Yüksel navigate pressure, a face that usually keeps secrets tucked behind cool composure, you can imagine how jarring it is when the mask slips. You can imagine how Barış Baktas, often steady, sometimes stoic, might freeze at the sound of something he cannot easily disprove in the moment. Let's walk through how that could happen. Francesca knows how to whisper a single sentence that detonates a relationship. Imagine her leaning in, voice low, sharing a fragment that doesn't even have to be complete, just suggestive enough to knock Demet off balance. Something that slides under the skin because it confirms what Demet fears on her worst days. Something about Kay's loyalty. Something about Kay's true feelings. Or maybe a fragment from the past that finally surfaces. One of those things you tell yourself is irrelevant until someone says it out loud with just enough poison to make it feel like truth. The trailer images and set leaks tell the rest, Demet lurching into a place beyond reason, beyond good judgment. Not because she wants chaos, but because she's been cornered by a version of reality she isn't ready to accept. Now breathe and consider the ripple effects. If Demet is spiraling, what happens to Kay? Can he hold the line when her temper shatters the furniture around them? Can he bear to see her faith in him evaporate in a single afternoon? Or does he step back, wounded and defensive, making everything worse? For a couple like Barış Baktas and Yağmur Yüksel, who often show restraint in public but are rumored to be intensely private and deeply protective in private, the tension gets real. You can picture Barış choosing silence over spectacle, swallowing his explanations, while Yağmur burns for an answer that doesn't sound rehearsed. The narrative has always hinted that Kay loves Demet fully, but wrestles with old ghosts he never quite finished burying. Francesca, of course, has a way of slipping a stiletto into the softest place, those ghosts. There's a theory making the rounds that Francesca exposed a thread from Kay's past, something tangled just tightly enough to bind the present. A secret romance left unfinished, maybe. A coincidence that looks damning from the wrong angle, a promise Kay made in a moment of fear and never found the courage to correct. If Francesca convinced Demet that Kay has been hiding something foundational, then the explosion we're seeing isn't theatrics, it's physics. Tear away trust, and the structure collapses. It's easy to judge from the outside, but anyone who has loved fiercely knows the terror of realizing you might be the only one playing with your whole heart. And if Demet believed that, even for 1 hour, the actions that followed make chilling sense. Here's where it gets uncomfortably intimate. Demet has long carried a quiet suspicion that she is too much and not enough at the same time. Too intense, too vulnerable, not glamorous enough, not effortless enough, all those contradicting lies that settle inside a person and hum at night. Francesca is a virtuoso at turning that hum into a roar. Imagine her saying, "Demet, you think Kay loves you, but he's still measuring you against Demet. He insisted his past is finished, but look closer, who keeps showing up, who is still in his orbit, who he still protects." You can hear the gravity in those words. They don't need proof. They only need timing. And if you trace the fallout, Demet's shock, the anger, the wild edge in her voice, you see a heart that suddenly can't recognize the world it woke up in. Of course, this begs the question, is Francesca telling the truth, or is she engineering the outcome she desires? She isn't known for charity. She is known for ambition, for an uncanny talent at placing people exactly where she wants them. Maybe she wants to pry Demet and Can apart to get closer to Can herself, or to make Demet stumble at a crucial moment, or simply to watch a beautiful thing unravel because that's the kind of story that gets people talking. If Demet is raging over a lie, then the tragedy is doubled. The wound is real, even if the knife is fake. And in the court of public opinion, where Barış Baktas and Yağmur Yüksel carry a spotlight whether they asked for it or not, the difference between truth and suggestion gets blurry fast. Whispered clips, out-of-context shots, tired faces mistaken for guilt. We've all seen the clip where Demet looks almost unrecognizable to herself, eyes glassy, hands shaking, voice breaking at the edges. It's hard to watch because it feels like trespassing on something fragile. This isn't the poised Demet who holds the room without raising her voice. This is someone who will run through a fire if it means she won't have to feel helpless. From a performance standpoint, it's a tightrope. Go too far, and it becomes noise. Hold back too much, and it becomes cold. If anyone can find the living pulse in that chaos, it's someone with Yağmur Yüksel's emotional intelligence, tiny gestures, a tremor in the breath, a word that lands crooked. And if the story gives Can a chance to steady the ground, you can see the space where Barış Baktas's quiet, contained strength fits, one measured sentence that feels like a hug in a hurricane. But this drama isn't unfolding in a vacuum. How the circle responds will tell us everything. Do Demet's friends and family rush in with soft voices and strong coffee, choosing to believe in her even when she's hard to love? Or do they back away, afraid of catching fire themselves, leaving her alone to draw the wrong conclusions? Support, or abandonment, clarity, or more noise. The way people show up in a crisis can crystallize their true loyalties. And if they flinch, if they treat Demet's pain as spectacle rather than signal, it only confirms the fear she carries in her bones, that when she stops being easy, she stops being loved. Watch closely, the background choices are as important as the foreground tears. This twist has jolted the audience awake because it reminds us of a simple truth: no relationship, no matter how dazzling on the surface, is immune to shadows. Secrets have a way of altering the light. Even the most enviable couples, yes, even the ones like Barış Baktas and Yağmur Yüksel, who seem to move in intuitive rhythm, can be undone by timing, omission, and the stories other people tell about them. The question now is whether Demet can pull herself back from the edge, whether she can separate the truth from the noise, whether she can forgive herself for believing the worst for a minute that felt like an eternity. And what will Can do in that fragile window? Will he sit in the discomfort long enough to calm the storm, or will he try to outrun it and make it worse? Let's not forget the meta layer. These turns keep viewers addicted because they mirror our own private fears. We theorize because it feels like picking a lock. We argue because we want to be right, but we also want to be reassured that love can survive the ugly parts. The ferocity of Demet's reaction tells us Francesca's words were not simple gossip, they were a trigger wired to old pain. It suggests something from Can's past, some unresolved knot that KH decided was safer left untouched, until it wasn't. Maybe it's something Khan never thought mattered. Maybe it's something he hasn't forgiven himself for. Whatever it is, the timing is brutal. And in the long, quiet hours that follow an explosion, you either learn to rebuild or you learn to live among ruins. So here's the distilled picture. Francesca approaches Demet and drops information about Can that ignites an emotional crisis. Demet hears not just a rumor, but an echo of every anxiety she has about being chosen and being enough. She spirals, and the world watches. Theories multiply. An old romance, an inconvenient truth, a careful manipulation of soft spots. Meanwhile, Can is forced to decide what kind of partner he is when words aren't enough. Does he fight for her trust, or does he defend his pride? This stretch might become the defining arc of the season, the kind of trial that either cements a bond or proves it was never ready for the weight it claimed to carry. For a couple under the bright, unblinking gaze of the public, think Barış Baktas and Yağmur Yüksel. That choice is a story and a test. As we wrap for today, that's where we leave you, with the echo of Francesca's sentence still hanging in the air and the roads ahead dividing. We've traced the shock, the possible truths, the likely manipulations, and the very human reasons Demet exploded the way she did. Now it's your turn to weigh in. What exactly do you think Francesca whispered? Did she point to a real wound, or fabricate one with surgical precision? How deep will the damage run between Demet and KH if this isn't cleared with honesty and care? Tell us your theories below, we read them all, and the best debates always start right here. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more deep dives into the storms and silences of your favorite dramas, tap like, subscribe to Turkish Series Stars, and turn on notifications so you never miss what comes next. Share this with the friend who always guesses the twist before the finale. Thank you for spending your time with us today. We'll be back soon with more, and until then, hold on to hope and look for the truth hiding in plain sight.